The United States makes the UN work when it wants it to work. And that is exactly the way it should be, because the only question for the United States is what's in our national interest.
My name is John, and the International Criminal Court is now in session. It is September 24th, 2025, and once again we are going to look at the situation within Ukraine. First of all, we are going to talk about the Zaporozhye direction. The Russians have advanced in the southern part of the town of Primorske and have managed to break through into the main part of the town of Stepnogorsk. They are advancing right now along the streets of Aruna Street, Tavrilivsky Street, and Rudyanska Street. So, within a matter of weeks, if not a whole month from now, the Russians are likely going to be contesting for these commie blocks here in the town center. And once that happens, Stepnogorsk is cooked. Now, moving further to the east, which is eastern Zaporozhye region / Dnipropetrovsk front, the Russians within the Dnipropetrovsk region have taken control of another village in the region, which is Kalinivsky. But in the Zaporozhye region, not direction, but region, they are advancing on this front too, towards mainly the villages of Pavlivka, Uspinovka, Novo Vasilivsky, and Novomikhailivka. The Russians are also reportedly taking control over the village of Novohrihorivka. Deep State has this entire village here under a gray zone, and because of that, I wouldn't be surprised if the Group of Forces East, aka Vostok Group, announce the capture of this village within a day or two. And because of how bad the Ukrainian defenses are in this direction, I wouldn't be surprised if by sometime late October the Russians are able to reach this road here. Because I don't think the Ukrainian defenses here are strong at all, considering the fact that they are on another front, which is, of course, the Pokrovsk direction. Otherwise, though, not much has happened in the Dnipropetrovsk region. Not here, not in the Novopavlovka direction. Well, unless, of course, you want to count Ivanovka, because the Russians have successfully crossed the Volta River and are currently fighting for the village of Ivanovka. And so far, I think they have taken the southeastern part of it, which obviously is good news for them, because if they're able to consolidate and hold on to this bridgehead here on the Volta River, the Russians will be able to take control of Ivanovka within weeks, if not a whole month. And if they're able to take this, Novopavlovka is pretty much cooked, and it will deem this entire direction here defenseless. Now, in the city of Pokrovsk, there hasn't really been a lot of activity going on, though there is some big fighting ongoing for the suburbs. And in addition, the Russians have broken through into the western part, though there are some reports that they have withdrew their forces back to these suburbs here, which is south of the city of Pokrovsk. But also, there is a report too by pro-Ukrainian sources that the Russians have also been pushed back from the city of Minograd, at least its outskirts. And also, Deep State has confirmed that the Russian army is advancing within the village or town of Novoye Konomichne. And also, this is the big one of today, the Russians are apparently on the brink of being cauldroned or encircled, like literally put in a pocket, in the Dobropillyya direction. The Russians, as all of you guys know by now, in mid-August, they attempted, with the use of DRGs and I guess some regular army units, attempted to go for the city of Dobropillyya, but also try to take these high grounds here, including the village of Zoloty Kolodiaz. But so far, that offensive has failed, and the Ukrainians are trying to recapture the village of Novotroletsky. And also, Anatoly Radov, a pro-Russian source, has reported the recapture of Nikhonorivka by the armed forces of Ukraine. Though the strange thing, though, is that the Russians are advancing in Nove Shakove. And there's also a report that the Russians are trying to advance from here as well, though nothing is confirmed yet. But yeah, things are not looking good for the Russians in this direction. But where they are looking really good right now is in the direction of Konstantinovka. The Russians have finally leveled this front here, so everything is now straightened out alongside Yablanovka. And in addition, the Russians have cut off the last supply routes here between Klebon-Buk and the city of Konstantinovka. So they're going to have to evacuate this area either by this unreliable road or across this reservoir here. And also the Russians are able to hold on to the dachas that they captured within Konstantinovka and are clearing out this pocket here just south of Chazov Yar. Now going north, something interesting is happening. And apparently it appears that the Russians have not only captured the village of Pyrizhny, but they're also contesting right now for the villages of Kuzminivka and are about to duke it out with the Ukrainians for the village of Zvanivka. And if they capture this, then Siversk will be within their sight. And in addition to, speaking of Siversk, the Russians and the Ukrainians have both agreed that the armed forces of Ukraine are basically getting cauldroned as we speak right now in Siversk. The Russians are advancing on the outskirts right now of Siversk, like in the northern and also in the eastern section, but the western direction, though, has still not yet been cut off. But time, though, is running out, because now, with the Serebrynsky forest fully recaptured by the Russians, it seems like it's now only a matter of time before the Russians are able to cut off Siversk from all supplies. And in addition, the news in Liman is not good for the AFU at all. Most of Zarachny here has been mostly captured by the Russians, and also it appears that the Russians are continuing their advance towards Liman from the north. And in addition, the villages of Derylove and Novoselivka are now fully contested by the Russians too. And once these are taken, then there's only one biggish settlement left, and then the Russians will be in Liman, which is the village of Dobryshive. And if Dobryshive falls, then Liman's western flank is exposed. There are forts here, yes, but nothing can really pretty much stop the Russians after this, and also Zarachny. The Battle of Liman is basically just an entire month away. Now, will it be anything like the 2022 battle where it lasted a few days or so before the AFU ran away, or is it going to be another long meat grinder like we saw in Bakhmut, aka Artyomovsk, Ugledar, Volchansk, Mariinka? Who knows? But yeah, Ukrainians there are in trouble. Now, going way further north, the Ukrainians are losing ground once more in the Kharkov region. Apparently, even though this map is not telling the full story, the Russians claim that they have captured 65% of the city of Kupiansk, which would mean, I guess, these commie blocks here have all fallen alongside the town center, and in addition to most of these neighborhoods, and that the only parts of Kupiansk that are somewhat still under Ukrainian control are the very southern parts of it, on both the western and the eastern side of the Oskol River. Now, obviously, we don't have any full confirmation yet, but if this were to be true, then Kupiansk and basically every AFU soldier here on this side of the Oskol River are basically cooked. And going way further north, now to the Russian border, the Russians have completed their capture of the village of Odrodny and are also continuing to advance towards the rest of the Zapad grouping within the Kharkiv region the Kharkiv region. I guess the Russians' goal here is to take the village of Bolohivka, and then they should be able to connect the Russian forces here, which is North Group, by the way, with these guys, which will then give them a starting point for a future offensive into the Kharkov region, I guess, in 2026. And then in the city of Volchansk, the Russians reportedly have, not long after taking full control of this industrial zone, this entire area here is also now a gray zone. Like, the entirety of western Volchansk is now contested by the Russians. So we can only count the weeks or a month or two from now before most, if not all, of western Volchansk comes under Russian control. And when that happens, then Ukrainians are going to have to evacuate Volchansk because this road here, which goes into the town itself, will be cut off physically by the Russians, rather if it be through conventional military means or through the use of FPV drones. The Ukrainians are also continuing their advance in the Sumy region here. Like, they're pushing the Russians back towards the border, but that's basically it. Oh, and one more thing before I get going. Apparently, the Ukrainians have been, Western media has been talking about Denmark being under attack by Russian drones or so. I mean, I honestly don't understand how that's even possible, unless maybe some drones took off from Kaliningrad towards, I guess, Copenhagen, but I'm not buying it. I think this whole thing is a bunch of false flag hysteria, hoping to escalate and get Donald Trump more dragged into the war as he already has been for months. But yeah, I'm not falling for this crap. It's fake news, and also it's probably some provocation by the Europeans just to give us World War III. But yeah, I'm not going to really talk about it too much. And buyer's remorse, I guess. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Tell me in the comment section below what you think of today's updates in addition to the situation on the front. And I guess I'll see you all next time. I'll see you all in 3 days, and take care. Bye-bye.